The scratching in the walls started at 3:17 a.m., and I knew with bone-chilling certainty that whatever was making that sound had been watching me for hours. I'd been home alone for 3 days while my parents visited my grandmother in the hospital 2 states away. At 19, I was more than capable of handling myself, or so I thought. Our house sat on 5 acres of wooded property, the nearest neighbor a quarter-mile down a winding dirt road. The isolation had never bothered me before. I actually preferred the silence. But that night, something was different. I'd fallen asleep on the living room couch while binge-watching Netflix, the TV's glow casting dancing shadows across the wood-paneled walls. The scratching jolted me awake, a deliberate, rhythmic sound coming from somewhere behind the wall near the kitchen. At first, I convinced myself it was mice. Old houses get mice, especially in October when the temperature drops. But as I sat there in the blue flicker of the paused screen listening, I realized the sound was too loud, too purposeful, and it was moving. The scratching traveled along the wall, following the path from the kitchen toward the living room where I sat frozen on the couch. It stopped directly behind me. My heart hammered against my ribs as I slowly turned around to face the wall. The scratching had stopped, but I could swear I heard something else. A soft, wet breathing sound, like someone with a cold trying to breathe through their nose. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, pointing it at the wall. Nothing. Just the same wood paneling that had been there my entire life, the same family photos hanging in their dusty frames. But as I swept the light across the surface, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There were fresh scratches in the wood, long, jagged gouges that definitely hadn't been there that morning when I'd made breakfast. They formed an almost deliberate pattern, like someone had been trying to claw their way through from the other side. I called my dad, hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. It went straight to voicemail. Mom's phone did the same. The hospital was probably in a dead zone, or they'd turned their phones off for the night. I was completely alone. The scratching started again, this time from a different wall. The dining room, then the hallway. Whatever was in there was moving through the house, following me as I crept from room to room, trying to figure out where the sounds were coming from. That's when I remembered the crawl space. Our house was built in the 1960s with a narrow crawl space that ran beneath the entire first floor. I'd only been down there once as a kid when my dad was doing some electrical work, and I'd hated every second of it. The musty smell, the spider webs, the way the low ceiling made me feel trapped. But someone could fit down there. Someone could move through the entire house, hidden beneath the floors, listening to every step I took above. I crept to the kitchen and grabbed the largest knife from the block, then made my way to the basement stairs. Each step seemed to echo through the house like a gunshot. The basement was pitch black, and my phone's flashlight only illuminated a small circle in front of me. The entrance to the crawl space was a small wooden door set into the foundation wall, about 3 feet high. I'd never paid much attention to it before, but now I could see that the old padlock that had secured it was lying on the concrete floor, cut clean through. The door was slightly ajar. As I knelt down and peered into the opening, my light caught something that made me nearly drop the phone. There were drag marks in the dirt, fresh ones, and scattered throughout the crawl space were items that didn't belong. Empty food containers, a dirty blanket, and most disturbing of all, photographs. Dozens of photographs of me. Pictures of me sleeping in my room, taken through my bedroom window. Pictures of me in the kitchen making coffee, shot from some impossible angle. Pictures of me on the couch watching TV. The same couch where I'd been sleeping just minutes ago. Someone had been living under my house, watching me, documenting my every move. I scrambled backward, away from the crawl space, and that's when I heard the breathing behind me. Real breathing, not muffled by walls or floors. I spun around, and there in the basement doorway stood a figure I didn't recognize. He was thin, almost skeletal, with long, greasy hair and clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in months. His eyes reflected my phone's light like an animal's, and when he smiled, I could see that several of his teeth were missing. "You're even prettier up close," he whispered in a voice like sandpaper. I ran. I've never moved so fast in my life, pushing past him and taking the basement stairs 3 at a time. Behind me, I could hear his footsteps. Not running, just walking with terrible patience, like he knew I had nowhere to go. I made it to the kitchen and grabbed my car keys from the counter. But when I looked out the window toward my car, I saw that all 4 tires had been slashed. He'd planned this. He'd been planning this for God knows how long. The front door was my only option. I sprinted through the living room, fumbled with the deadbolt, and burst outside into the cold October night. I didn't stop running until I reached the main road, where I flagged down a passing pickup truck. The police found evidence that he'd been living in our crawl space for at least 2 weeks, maybe longer. They discovered a disturbing journal detailing his obsession with me, along with a crude map of our house showing my daily routines. He'd been studying me like a predator studies prey. They never caught him. He vanished into the woods before the police arrived, leaving behind only the photographs and the knowledge that someone had been close enough to kill me every single night for weeks. We moved within a month. I couldn't sleep in that house again, couldn't walk across the floors without imagining him beneath me, watching, waiting. Even now, 3 years later, I check every crawl space, every basement, every hidden corner of wherever I'm staying. Because the most disturbing part isn't that he was there. It's that I never would have known if he hadn't wanted me to. The scratching, the photographs, the unlocked crawl space door. He wanted to be discovered. He wanted me to know. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder if he's still out there somewhere, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to finish what he started. The police told me I was lucky. But when I think about those missing weeks when he was so close I could have reached down and touched him through the floorboards, when he was listening to my phone calls and watching me sleep, I don't feel lucky at all. I feel like prey that got away. For now.